So this is Suchitoto, and so welcome to Suchitoto, a town where the history whispers through these cobblestone streets and echoes from its colonial past. So its story begins like long before the arrival of the Spanish, and it's rooted in the ancient traditions of the Pipil people. So the name Suchitoto comes from the Nahuatl language, which means place of birds and flowers. So Suchitoto's location made it an important settlement in ancient Cuscatlan, and it was ideal for farming. Conquistador Pedro de Alvarado led the invasion of this region, and by the mid-1500s, Suchitoto was transformed into a colonial town under Spanish control, and the indigenous population was displaced, and European architecture and culture rooted through the spirit of the Pipil people never truly disappeared. So during the colonial period, Suchitoto became one of the most important centers for indigo dye production. And so indigo, or anil, was a highly valuable export, often referred to as blue gold. And the plant was harvested, processed, and turned into a deep blue dye that was exported to Europe and used for textiles. So for a time, this trade brought wealth and prosperity to Suchitoto. But unfortunately, however, in the 19th century, the invention of synthetic dyes drastically reduced the demand for natural indigo, leading to the town's economic decline. And so families moved away and in search of new opportunities, and Suchitoto faded from its former prominence. So in the 20th century, Suchitoto faced its darkest chapters during the Salvadorian Civil War, which lasted from 1980 to 1992. So the town and its surrounding area here became a conflict zone between government forces and the leftist guerrilla movement, the FMLN. So many residents were forced to flee, and the town was abandoned, basically. So scars from the war remain here, but so does the spirit of resilience, right? So following the peace accords in 1992, Suchitoto experienced somewhat of a cultural renaissance. Families returned, buildings were restored, and the town slowly transformed into a hub for art, history, and tourism. Dogs everywhere. Like a little village going down to the lake. So just beyond the town lies Lake Suchitlan, the artificial lake that was created in 1976 in El Salvador. And so this body of water provides a very breathtaking view. A lot of cows, got vultures and pigs. Some islands in the distance, boats. Little green boats, little Rapido Lancha boats, nothing too big. You got a restaurant here, Commodore Normita. And we got some like tour boats on this side. Does not have the most pleasant smell, unfortunately, but I can see why. If you look at this, got some pigs, a bunch of trash everywhere. I would imagine this would be a great place for pigs and vultures. Little shanty huts right here. Not a bad place to spend the night for some people. cooking fish. I guess they caught some fish. Pescadoras. Muchos pescados.
57.50. Sí. 60 le doy.
Oh, looks like they're selling some fish as well. Nice. I would stick around, get some food, but don't see anyone. That could be the women's store, and she's just over there selling some fish. Hola. ¿Tienes café o no? Café? No? Ah, sí. So she said there's some coffee on the other side. Wouldn't mind some coffee. Ah, see, I think she is saying right here. Aquí? Yeah. Ah, okay.
¿De qué café quieres?
Ah, okay.
¿Ves? Rico.
Rico? Sí, muy rico. Very good coffee here. Muy fuerte. Need some strong coffee right now.
¿Tiene agua helada?
Get going.
Dame una cola.
Might get out on the lake. We'll see.
¿Tiene cigarro? Model. A ver si me vende uno y me regala fuego, por favor, o me lo vende.
Gracias.
Ahí está el azúcar.
Ah, gracias.
¿Tiene cubito?
Ah, okay, gracias. Salva. Looks good.
No, pues, estaba yéndole a decir a usted que a dónde le va a dar una plaza. No le pueden dar más barata porque aquí en el mercado de la grande, ¿sabe cuántas dan? Como 3 por 5, ¿no?
Ah, pero de la grande, de la grande.
Y de la otra,
Tienen otra del mismo carro.
toda ella, la leche, toda.
De lado caliente acá tiene una lechucha.
That is strong. Gracias. Muy fuerte.
Muy fuerte le quedó.
Sí.
Caliente y helado.
Algo, ya, necesito visitar.
Que le frío.
¿Sí? ¿Free?
Ah, ¿quiere ir allá?
Sí, los islas aquí están
la isla.
para visitar.
Usted tiene que pasarse con alguien que venga de allá, que le pase.
Sí, puedo pagar un hombre que para una visitar una isla aquí. ¿Cuántos cuesta para un viaje?
No.
Sí,
alguien lo puede pasar.
No, sí.
Con su peso que le debo.
$2.
Ajá, por ahí, sí.
Sí, es muy
Ahí
cerca. ¿Cuántas islas aquí?
Ay, solo esa está.
Aquí.
Ay, solo esa está con
Solo
gente
esta.
y aquella de allá.
Ah, aquí.
Pero aquella ya no es isla, ya aquella ya
Ajá.
hay paso.
Ah, sí, muy cerca. Este es dos islas aquí, pero yo creo que hay más islas a este lado.
Islas sí hay,
Sí.
un montón. Ajá. Para abajo hay islas. Está.
Ah, sí, pero es muy lejos para sí. Ah, okay.
Aquí es que nomás, ya va a haber paso ahí, si hay, ya vas pechando el lago, ya va a haber paso, sí.
Ah, sí, paso aquí.
Sí, en tierra.
So, necesito ir a la derecha aquí o derecho.
Sí.
Okay.
Ahorita caminando puede ir a esa, ¿sí? Andar caminando, todo eso. Todo. Mire, se puede ir aquí, se puede ir aquí y se va allá por abajo, sale aquí.
Ah, aquí, sí. Ah, okay, sí.
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 Pero ya aquella sí, ya la isla aquella tiene que pasarse. y agua.
¿Hay más cosas sobre solo like
Solo las
plantas?
casitas.
Ok, sí. Gracias.
Solo las casitas.
That is some very, very strong coffee. Whew. God, it smells here. I think I've stepped in at least 5 piles of dung, crap, as they call it as well. Hola, ¿esas es las
Tortillas.
tortillas, no pupusas?
No, pupusas no, tortillas.
Okay. ¿Qué es encima, adentro?
Nada.
Nada? Sí, solo tortillas.
Solo tortillas.
Gracias, okay. So it looks like they've got a plate museum. And it's about $3 to go inside to see all the plates. I don't really feel like doing that at the moment. And so it's Friday morning and they're setting up market here. It's about 11 o'clock, so it seems like this happens every day because I saw this yesterday. The center fountain, large and in charge. I just feel like jumping in here, unfortunately. Hola, ¿cómo se dice comida? ¿Minutas?
Son minutas.
Son minutas.
Aquí son minutas.
¿Tienes
Ya son raspados.
Ah, raspados, sí.
Ajá.
So let's start with some historical context. The iglesia, or the church, Santa Lucia, was completed in 1853, and during a time when the neoclassical architecture was very prominent. So throughout its existence, the church here has served as a focal point for the community, and it has been a gathering place for religious ceremonies, celebrations, and significant social events, fostering a sense of belonging among the townspeople. So its role as a social hub cannot be overstated. So it has brought people together for generations, creating bonds among families and friends here in Suchitoto. So I'm on the side of the church right now, and there's plenty of people. So now let's take a closer look into the architecture of the church. So one of the most striking features is the bright white facade here, which stands out, and it has a beautiful backdrop against the town. So the neoclassical elements are evident in the church's symmetrical design. The elegant twin bell towers that adorn the structure, and the symmetry not only makes it very visually appealing and stunning, but also creates a sense of harmony and balance that can be fascinating to capture here on camera. So if you can see behind me, the twin bell towers of the church aren't just for decoration. They have historically served practical purposes, and they were used to signal the times for religious services. And I can still hear them a lot too during the day. And they're an important thing for community events and for local alerts as well when emergencies happen. So the sound of the bells ringing is a cherished thing for a lot of the people of Suchitoto, and the church's integral role, it plays a very amazing part of the daily life for a lot of people here. Now this has got to be my favorite street so far. So a lot of these rocks on this road are just being displaced, and it's pretty awesome to see a road like this. I would highly doubt anyone would build another road with all of these rocks, but I'm sure the people that live here, they kind of replace the rocks if they get out of tune with everything, because there are some cars that still probably use this road. But I'd imagine it's not their number one preference anymore for building roads. Here I asked an El Salvadorian why he likes President Bukele.
Sí, claro. Sí.
Sí, ¿por qué? ¿Él es muy mejor con los políticos o no?
Pues sí, digamos, él está haciendo ha hecho bastantes cosas buenas por el país, ¿verdad?
Ajá.
Quitó, así como la delincuencia, más turismo, ¿verdad? Quitó la delincuencia, está viniendo más turismo al país, ¿verdad?
Ajá.
Hay muchas cosas que ha hecho buenas, ¿verdad? Solo que ahora como que hay bastante gente en El Salvador, ¿verdad?
Ajá.
Que se está quejando por algunas cosas que están poniendo elevado, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Como la canasta básica, los sueldos mínimos no aumentan, ¿verdad?
Ajá.
Y la cuestión de las leyes de tránsito y todo eso, ¿verdad? Ahorita está en un gran como le digo, problema, ¿verdad? Que la gente no le gusta, que están muy elevadas las cifras de las esquelas de tránsito, ¿verdad? Todo eso, ahí sí está mal, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Y también están renegando bastantes salvadoreños por la minería.
Minería.
La minería
okay. Sí, son las personas que estaban en la cárcel, ¿Piensas que este es muy peligroso para su país, con las personas tal vez no están muy peligroso y no...
No, digamos, de estar peligroso no está peligroso así como estaba años anteriores, ¿verdad?
Okay,
porque como ahora la mayoría están todos encerrados. Están presos en las cárceles, ¿verdad?
Ok, gracias.
Sí.
Okay, well, gracias.
Sí. Bueno, ok.
So while I'm heading over to the Los Tercios waterfall, why not talk about the FMLN? Nice and quiet street at the moment. So many of you might be wondering, what the hell is the FMLN? So it was a left-wing political and military organization, and it played a central role in the Salvadorian Civil War from 1979 to 1992. And it was formed as a coalition of 5 leftist guerrilla groups united by a common goal, which was to overthrow the Salvadorian government, which they viewed as corrupt, oppressive, and heavily influenced by the United States of America, the evil people up north. So they really wanted to get it. What's up, El Salvador? You see? So the formation of the FMLN. So the roots of the FMLN. So it traced back to the 60s and the 70s when various revolutionary movements in El Salvador were inspired by the growing wave of leftist insurgencies in Latin America. And so these movements were primarily influenced by the Cuban Revolution and the broader revolutionary ideology of the Marxism and Leninism. So the initial groups that would later form the FMLN included the FPL, which is the Liberation Front, named after Augusto Farabundi Martí. Martí was a communist leader, and he was a revolutionary who led an uprising in 1932 against the ruling elite. So this group was dedicated to organizing the workers and the peasants. So you have FARN as well, which was the National Resistance Front. And this was made up of urban guerrillas with a Marxist orientation. Then you have ERP, People's Revolutionary Army. This was a Maoist-inspired guerrilla group with strong ties to the rural peasant movements. So you also have the Revolutionary Workers' Party. This was a Marxist group that promoted revolutionary action through workers' struggles. And then you had the PCS, which was the Popular Action Bloc, a Marxist organization focused on rural and peasant struggles. And so these groups made up a majority, if not all of them, and they came together in 1980 to form the FMLN. And they named that after Farabundi Marti, which he was remembered as a martyr for the peasant cause in El Salvador. And he had led an indigenous uprising in 1932, which was brutally suppressed by Salvadorian government. So, the Salvadorian Civil War in 1980 through 1992. So it really began in 1979 and was marked by intense violence between the government and the FMLN. So the war was rooted in deep-seated inequalities, including poverty and land concentration and political repression, which disproportionately affected the rural, poor, and the indigenous populations of El Salvador. So in the late 1970s, widespread protests against the government of Carlos Humberto Romero and the growing influence of the military dictatorship pushed the country into a period of turmoil. So in 1979, a military coup ousted the dictator, but the new government did little to address the underlying economic and the social issues. Instead, it adopted a more repressive measure, which led to an escalation of civil conflict. So the FMLN, which had a broad support base among a lot of the peasants and the workers and just the urban poor, they began conducting guerrilla warfare, targeting the military and the government's installations. And they were supported by a network of civilians as well as external actors such as Cuba and the Soviet Union, also Nicaragua as well. So Nicaragua had the Sandinista government, right? And they provided military and logistical support. So the Salvadorian government, on the other hand, was heavily supported by the United States of America. And can't go against the United States of America, right? So by the late 1980s, both the Salvadorian government and the FMLN realized the war could not be won militarily and that negotiations needed to happen. So the United Nations played a key role in facilitating the peace talks. And finally, in 1992, the Chapultepec Peace Accords were signed in Mexico City. And the accords ended the war, and both sides agreed to a ceasefire, and a series of political reforms occurred. So under the peace agreement, the FMLN was allowed to transfer itself into a political party. So the FMLN's guerrilla fighters were integrated into the civilian police force, and the group gave up the armed struggle in exchange for political representation. And the war officially ended, and having cost over about 75,000 people's lives, unfortunately, and a lot of wounded and many displaced as well. All right, we've made it to Los Tercios. It's a waterfall. So they're gonna charge me $1 for entry, which is okay. Hola. Necesito pagarte para entrar. Okay. O solo uno.
Es
$1.
A mano derecha está el camino para bajar a ver lo que es la formación de las rocas. Ahorita la cascada no tiene agua.
No tiene agua ahora.
Solamente es de temporada.
Ah, okay.
Y aquí a mano izquierda está el mirador principal.
Okay, gracias.
Bueno.
All right, well, she got that $1 out of me. She told me there was no water right after I paid the $1. What's the point of going to a waterfall with no water? But, well, I guess we'll just go down anyway. What the hell? Wish I would have known this. I guess she said it was too early in the season for water. But you live and learn. Live and learn. Hola. ¿La cascada no tiene agua ahora o no?
No, solo en invierno.
Oh, en invierno.
Sí. Ahorita estamos en verano aquí en El Salvador, entonces
No más agua.
no.
Para los cumbres aquí no tiene agua. O los ríos.
Este no.
Okay.
Este río no tiene agua.
Okay.
Es el que va a dar a cabal a la cascada.
Ajá.
Ajá.
Okay.
Hay otros ríos aquí
Ajá.
que sí tienen, pero este no.
No. Okay, gracias.
Sí, bueno.
Este es la senda para.
Sí,
Okay.
acá y hacia allá, buscando las piedras. Esas piedras, ahí está la bajada.
Bajada. Okay, gracias.
Este camino va a dar a otro mirador.
Mirador. Ah, sí. O sea, 2 sendas para un mirador y los cascadas.
Del otro lado.
Okay, gracias.
Sí, bueno.
So there's a lookout as well, I guess, here. So we'll go to the lookout if I don't trip and fall and break my head open. Okay. So here's, I think she said, it's right here, yeah. So I guess this would be the waterfall. I'd be standing on the top of it. And as you can see down, it's a pretty big drop right here. So I guess I'm gonna have to wait for water. ¿Esos es pupusas aquí? ¿Qué es adentro?
Gracias.
¿Queso?
Adentro. Frijol y queso.
Frijoles y queso. ¿Tienes un pupusa sin queso? O, ¿sí?
Queso con
¿Puedes
arroz.
hacerlo sin queso?
¿Sí?
Sí, solo frijoles.
Sí.
Sí, ok. Sí, voy a comprar sin queso. Sí.
Ajá.
Ok.
Uno.
Yeah, sí,
¿De
uno.
arroz o de maíz?
Maíz, yeah. Maíz, yeah.
Gracias. Vaya, Mirna. Adiós.
Pupusa time. The time has come. Probably just eating there. Pupusa. Not bad at all. Kind of like just a tortilla with beans. Kind of like a bean burrito in a sense. I didn't get it with cheese. Call me different, but Make fun of me all you want. I don't care. Make fun of me all you want. I didn't get cheese in my papusa. I don't care. I don't care what you say. Fourth shot at time, baby. I got 2 more. Different varieties of pupusas here. We've got ajo, which is garlic, and we also have jalapenos, and we also have beans with cheese, and we also have zanahoria, which is a carrot, and a lot of different ones I've never seen. Usually when I check out a pupusa, it's just beans and cheese and a little bit of meat, you know, some res or pastor meat sometimes, but it's nice that they change it up. So there's always room for a change for your pupusa. Finally, got some pupusa. Amazing pupusas here. So let's start with some historical context. The iglesia, or the church, Santa Lucia, was completed in 1853, and during a time when the neoclassical architecture was very prominent. The church is dedicated to Saint Lucy, who is a revered patron saint of the blind. So throughout its existence, the church here has served as a focal point for the community, and it has been a gathering place for religious ceremonies, celebrations, and significant social events. So now let's take a closer look into the architecture of the church. So one of the most striking features is the bright white facade here, which stands out, and it has a beautiful backdrop against the town. So the neoclassical elements are evident in the church's symmetrical design. The elegant twin bell towers that adorn the structure, and the symmetry not only makes it very visually appealing and stunning, but also creates a sense of harmony and balance that can be fascinating to capture here on camera. Very impressive. Very, very impressive. Inside Santa Lucia Church, and there are plenty of different representations of the archbishops and the padres, or the fathers here, that have been involved in the church since its inception.